Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Against the Grain podcast. I'm Josh Holbrook. I'm here with my partner, Mike Irvin.
What's up, everybody?
And we were planning on doing a little bit of a different type of show on a little bit of a different type of topic, but I think that because of the events of this week, namely the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that we probably ought to chat about that a little bit. I know it's been on my mind, bumming me out pretty major.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think the ramifications of it are much bigger than just a random guy's death, you know?
Definitely bigger than that. I don't think we've had any kind of a similar political style assassination since like Malcolm X and MLK.
Yeah. No, that's a good analogy for sure.
He's not a politician. He's somebody who's influencing the culture. That's the only things that it could be kind of reminiscent of. But I mean, I was just shocked when I heard it, but not surprised. Shocked in the event, but just not surprised that something like that could have happened. And unfortunately, working in an online environment like I do, things just started to come at me from all directions from friends because those people are so online.
Man, I was shocked at how many people reached out to me, you know? I think that's why it's much bigger than I realized even at the time, you know?
Yeah.
But it's an attack on free speech, you know?
Well, it definitely is. There's all kinds of implications. First and foremost, if you've not seen the video online, please don't go look at it. It's an image that I wish that I had not seen up close.
Same here.
It's really like a Faces of Death video from somebody that's popular who I enjoyed listening to, and it's not pleasant, and I don't know that I'll ever get that image out of my head.
Yeah, and it's wild that we used to have to like seek that stuff out to find that, and now it's just readily available for anyone to find.
Yeah, I mean, that's the gift and the curse of X, formerly Twitter, is that everything that could be online is immediately online.
Yeah, and not just X. I mean, I saw it on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know? It's just the times we live in.
The imagery is
filming everything.
The imagery is really awful. Really awful. I was immediately praying that he would pull through. Imagine he has medical staff on site and right there and all that, but also didn't think there was a very good chance that he would.
Yeah, when I talked to you, you had seen the video, and I hadn't, and I talked to a few other people who had seen it, and they said it's a miracle. It's going to be a miracle if he survives it. And I ended up watching the video. Like you said, I kind of wish I hadn't, but terrible stuff.
It's just kind of landed heavy on me, man. Charlie Kirk wasn't my favorite public intellectual speaker, debater. I mean, I liked a lot of the things that he said.
Yeah.
I disagreed with some of his stances.
Sure. And we're able to do that, right?
Yeah.
We're logical people. We can disagree.
Yeah. I mean, he was rational, and he was kind, and he was tolerant of people with different ideas.
He really was, and I think that he's getting a bad rap for not being that way.
Yeah, I've seen
called
lots of
a
that
fascist
too.
and a white supremacist, and these people have obviously not seen his videos. That's the first thing I will say.
I've seen people cherry pick the worst moments of things that he said.
Sure.
And anybody who lives their life talking to the public and being recorded speaking about real issues in public is probably going to make some mistakes.
Well, yeah, he's being attacked constantly, right?
Say things poorly. The one that I have seen the most often was some comments he was making about some black representatives being helped through by affirmative action. I mean, to me, it was said poorly, some of the ways that he said it, but in essence, it's a position I agree with, that affirmative action is just racism. I mean,
I agree completely.
It's giving people a hand on the basis of the color of their skin and nothing else. And we shouldn't do that for anybody on the basis of race.
That's racism at its base form.
Yeah, it's definitional. But yeah, lots of people calling him those names. White supremacist, fascist.
I don't think these people understand the meaning of those words. I really don't. You know, I think they hear it from someone else and they just spout it out. Because if you know anything about fascists, you wouldn't And you would never call Trump a fascist. You would never call Elon Musk a fascist. I mean, it's just insane to me.
Yeah, it's that word fascist is lost a lot of its meaning because of how it's used in the left-wing culture today. Basically, anybody who doesn't agree with the far lefty positions gets called a fascist by
a Nazi,
by your extremely left people. And there's quite a paradigm or a variety of different types of people who are on the left, but the most extreme ones call people fascist and white supremacist with just the slightest bit of disagreement with their positions.
Especially when they can't find a better argument, which is my problem with this whole thing, is that Charlie was there for you to talk to, respectfully, open forum for you to come and talk to him.
For anyone.
Yeah.
And he didn't, people say he was a jerk or all these different things, but if you watch any of his content, he does not get aggressive with people until they're aggressive with him and they're being ridiculous and
absolutely
acting in bad faith. Anybody who keeps it cool and just tries to debate the topics, he keeps it cool and just tries to debate the topics, keeps it respectful. He may completely disagree openly, but respectfully. I mean, that's the essence of why American culture politically has been different than many other places. The idea that it's an old liberal idea, not liberal in meaning anything to do with the Democratic Party, but just a liberal ideal of the West that I may not agree with what you have to say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it.
Yeah,
is a maxim of the West.
That's what liberals used to hold on to.
Yeah, classical liberals
fiercely.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But it seems now that most of the left wing has gone way away from that. And as a matter of fact, somebody who I consider a friend, I've known since high school, who's extremely intelligent, who is on the left side of the aisle, referred to Charlie Kirk as, paraphrasing, making a living off of spreading hatred and divisiveness. And it's just like, wow, man.
It's just an uninformed opinion. I'm sorry. Like, objectively, I think. I mean,
it's cherry picking certain moments on key topics.
Yeah. And didn't do the research. Saw a clip somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is what most people do now, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty awful, the state of discourse among people who disagree and on any topic. But that's one of the reasons we decided to do this podcast, because we want to talk about stuff openly and not have to hide from tough topics.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing a fascist would do is they would shoot someone that they disagree with.
They shot lots of them in World War II.
Yeah.
Not only people they disagreed with, but just flat out people they didn't like. Burn the books, man. That's fascism, Yeah. Associating the state so closely with government that they can't be the difference in between the two. Centralized power at the very top, which is just not what the type of nation that we have.
Yeah, and I mean, say what you want, man, but this is the greatest country in the world. You can say whatever you want to say, whenever you want to say it.
Yeah. And
now to think that you have to rein that back because you can be shot because of that, I feel like that hasn't been an issue for decades.
Well, you certainly can't stand on the street and say what you want to say in a lot of cities nowadays.
Oh, that's true. I
mean, you can't go to Portland and just start speaking out against abortion or out in support of Trump. You couldn't do that on the streets of Portland. I mean, there's been people shot for that.
Yeah.
Just people on the street. And, one of the things that...
On both sides. I mean, we're not going to just talk about the left here, More so with the left, if I'm being honest. But
well, you don't see the right attacking people in the streets for their views. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know that we've seen that, and if I'm wrong, please point out the examples. Make a comment.
I mean, that's the narrative, though, is that they are, and they're not.
Yeah,
I think that's very important to point out.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you know, and how much have you read, seen about Antifa?
I mean, just what I've seen in the news. I don't know much about them, honestly. I despise them.
Yeah,
I'm being honest.
And so a lot of well-meaning liberals who don't know much about them will say, well, they're anti-fascist. What's wrong with being anti-fascist? And quite frankly, the tactics that they employ are fascist in themselves.
Exactly.
They shout people down, don't want to hear other sides of arguments. They actually attack people in the street.
Use violence over nonviolence.
There's a reporter named Andy No who's taken that on directly, and they beat him within an inch of his life and have chased him down several times in public.
I did hear about that.
There was lots of Antifa rhetoric leading up to this event in Utah, people saying something's going to happen, all kinds of stuff.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, some of the more radical conspiracy types out there, and even just people online, I've seen reporting that there was news outlets like the New York Times and the the LA Times and the New York Times had some reports and headlines the day before about Charlie Kirk being shot.
I did see that, but I mean, it's so easy to doctor things now. I don't know how much credence I give that, but
I mean, that was on a straight Google search.
Yeah.
Also, so I don't know what that's about. I'm not making any assumptions. I'm just saying what I've seen out there.
If that is true, that's insane. That's crazy.
And there's also already a book out that's talking about the Charlie Kirk shooting. I mean, how is that possible?
Yeah. And it was dated. It was published September 9th.
Yeah.
So
the day
2 days ago. Yeah.
Who knows what the real truth about those kinds of things are? But just the fact that we have to question what if there is a larger motive or larger agenda is just crazy.
Yeah. And the line between what's real and what's not is really starting to blur with AI, and that's a problem.
AI on top of kayfabe.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've talked about kayfabe a little bit in some past episodes, but just for people who don't know, kayfabe is the layering of truth and lies in a dramatic way to confuse. Its intent is to confuse on what's real and what's not. People give the example of pro wrestling. It's fake on top of lie on top of fake, or real on top of fake, real on top of fake, really real on top of fake, stacked up like pancakes until you can't tell what's what. And so a lot of times that's what's happening in the media.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, most people aren't going to do what we do and actually fact check everything and try to really discern what's real and what's not. And that's an even bigger issue.
Yeah, and I wondered right away if, I started thinking about the issues that Charlie Kirk talked about that inflamed people the most, and the biggest one is the trans topic.
Yeah.
Well,
and by the way, can I just interject real quick? I found a clip of this trans person that was genuinely asking him these questions, and he so respectfully answered and said, "Hey, do you mind telling me your story?" And he thanked her for telling the story, him, whatever. But, I mean, it was just like, people say that he's so anti-trans, but he was so nice to this person. And he was just like, hey, she was asking, when does a trans person start taking drugs? And he basically said, like, I don't recommend that you ever take drugs for that or for anything. He said, basically went off on his whole tangent about how the doctors have lost his respect completely, which I understand and appreciate. But he was so respectful to her, and made sure that he didn't hurt her feelings. And it's just like people think that he's the complete opposite of that. And
that's the point, is that there were some things and conversations with trans people at some of his events, or people who supported trans rights, if that's what you want to call them, that did not go as cordially. But it wasn't him who started the nonsense. If people get out of line, he certainly escalated with them some.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you get attacked, what are you going to do? You're going to go on the defensive.
And also, if people are just not being in good faith, having a conversation, allowing back and forth, talking over you, that just doesn't. He would escalate a little bit on that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah. And a lot of that, I mean, these mostly college kids are just talking over him and not letting him talk. And he gave everybody that I've seen, every clip I've seen, he says, let this guy have his chance to speak. Mm-hmm. And he shuts the crowd up even, And it's just like, it's just so important to have those kinds of forums, and people don't understand that, and they just, and even the right calling him a martyr, it's kind of ridiculous.
That's ridiculous also.
Yeah, but it's just so unfortunate, man.
Yeah,
because like you said today, it's like this is a bad thing for free thinking people, for people that like to have these kinds of tough conversations with people that disagree with them.
Yeah, and it gives you a little bit of pause when you're doing a podcast in public talking, but I don't have any fear. I mean, if you think about him and people asked him how he wanted to be remembered, he said he wanted to be remembered as a happy warrior for his faith.
For his faith, exactly.
And that's what he was. I also heard him described as a happy warrior by Candace Owens when she was talking about him today. Well, I had forgotten that she really came to fame with Charlie Kirk under Turning Point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't really remember that, but they had traveled the world for a couple of years together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they were really, really close. And I was listening to her eulogize him a little bit today. That was her whole show, was doing that. And she was just showing videos and pictures and stuff of their relationship and how it had blossomed. And I mean, he was there when she met her husband, and she was there when he met his wife, and like they were very, very close. And behind the scenes, she talked about some of their conversations on the topic of Israel because they felt very differently about it, and just how he was always civil and always wanted to hear what the full opinion was of the other person so he could think it through. And you could just tell it was, really genuinely somebody who had lost an actual good friend.
Yeah. Well, and that's my whole thing. Is like, he was the guy. Like, everybody talks mess about, these Fox News guys and Ben Shapiro because they don't let people talk. Bill O'Reilly was the worst one for me that I ever saw. It's just like he would have people on his show and he would berate them and they would try to talk and he wouldn't even let them talk. But Charlie would sit there and listen to what you had to say.
Yeah.
He might not agree with you, but he would respectfully answer your questions as long as you were respectful to him. And, I mean, that's just something you don't see anymore, especially on that level.
It's very rare that people are able to stay that cool. Yeah, the Bill O'Reilly cable news segment of a couple of minutes to talk, yelling over each other, it's just pretty much dead.
Thank God.
Yeah, I mean, Piers Morgan is doing a version of that on YouTube, but his shows are like 45 minutes to an hour, so there's more time for people to actually flesh out what they have to say.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit less yelling over people, but it's kind of still similar. And once in a while, let's do it, but a lot of times I just can't because of the way that they're yelling over each other.
You watch Bill Maher at all?
Sometimes. I wanted to watch the Charlie Kirk full one with him and Charlie Kirk now that has all happened. I watched a clip of it today where he was talking about Christianity with Bill Maher, and I also heard him talk about it afterwards, where he just said that Bill was very cordial, respectful, treated him very well, to his credit, and that they had great conversations, respectful and back and forth, and no, they definitely didn't agree on things, and Bill's not a Christian, he's an atheist, and that's fine to go back and forth, but it was all done very, very respectfully, which I value greatly.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say hate. I used to dislike Bill Maher because he used to be that guy that would just shut you down and not let you talk. But now, I don't know what changed in him. I think just the abundance of extreme leftism on that side and where it had gotten the party ultimately made him be like, okay, guys, if you ever want to win anything again, you need to shut up,
Yeah. He's more of a centrist and classical liberal,
yeah.
And so he definitely is into having more conversations. I think that it was format on his older shows where you, again, were crammed into 45 minutes to an hour plus commercials that gives you that quicker, less time for people to speak type of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But in his one-on-one interview show, he really does let people go. And he disagrees where there's disagreement, and he agrees where there's agreement.
And he always has a conservative and always has a liberal, and they talk, and they're always cordial. And if they're not, he shuts it down pretty quick.
Well, that's on his main show, but I'm talking about the YouTube internet show that he does, the one-on-ones. He's done a lot of those with a lot of people that he completely disagrees with. Mm-hmm. It's been cool. I mean,
that's what I respect about him too. He will have anyone on, and he will debate. You know, cordially.
Yeah. So I don't want to belabor the trans thing, but I did want to touch back on a couple of other things. There's been a bunch of these school shootings lately that have involved trans people being the shooter.
Yeah.
And it's usually the perception out there is it's angry young white men who are going to do these kinds of things, and that's not what we've been seeing. The one recently at the Catholic school was that. The one, I don't remember where it was, but the shooter was Ashley Hale a while back, was also trans. But like it's this, there's this ideology taking root in that movement that is, in the end, looking violent.
Yeah.
And it's an issue that I think we've reached the climax of the insanity on, and I really think it's coming back the other direction. And I want to make clear that I don't hate anyone. I don't hate trans people. I don't hate gay people. I don't hate anybody of any race. But it's an issue that's dicey, and it should be talked about in depth.
Yeah.
I've studied it in depth. I know the roots of it. If people want to get started, look up Alfred C. Kinsey in the 40s and 50s and the work that he did on the sexuality of the human male, and then his second book was the sexuality of the human female, and his ideas were just messed up.
Yeah, there's actually a movie with Liam Neeson.
There is a movie, and it was very whitewashed. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I figured, because I mean, it's not anything that mainstream would want to talk about back then. What was it, the 90s?
It was
maybe early 2000s.
Something, I think it was early 2000s, 2004, or something like that. But yeah, there's some really, really bad stuff in those books. Not just bad morally, but things that everyone agrees are bad, or at least 99.9% of people, like pedophilia. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, because he has reports on sexual behavior of down to infants and kids, and
Jesus.
It's really ugly stuff.
Why would you even think that?
Well, I mean,
why
like
would
some
you
people
try to diagnose something like that.
Well, when I brought that up with a doctor friend of mine actually today when we were discussing it, he was like, "Oh, well, I did ChatGPT on Kinsey, and this is what I found." And it was, again, very, very whitewashed. But I think what people miss when they just throw something into ChatGPT is that you can push past that, and you go a little farther. You can ask about the controversies that are briefly mentioned in the summary that AI is going to give you right away.
Yeah, and then you can make a more detailed question.
Yeah, and you can push back, and you can say, what about this? And give you more detail on that. And that's what I encourage my friend to do, because I know more about Kinsey, and it was his stated goal to destroy the traditional family. He hated anything to do with Christian-based morals. He wanted people to be free sexually all over and do whatever they wanted to do. And he was not a very good person. And his eyes, the reason he was able to do all this and get away with it and pretty much threaten anybody who came against him.
Another weirdo.
Another very much weirdo. Someone who, there's lots and lots of verified history on his sexual deviance and transgender behavior, and also just pure corruption and power mongering and protection of people he liked and destruction of people he didn't like.
Yeah.
So there's a doctor that I found her website today that details out a bunch of her history about trying to fight against what Kinsey was all about. It was really, really interesting stuff.
Oh, wow. I need to check that out.
Yeah, I didn't even get finished reading all of it. But then I also know that one of Kinsey's proteges was a guy named John Money. And he, most of the work that's supposedly scientific on the transgender topic comes from the work of John Money. He's a real bad guy.
Okay.
He's a real bad guy. And
maybe worse than Kinsey himself.
Maybe. It's arguable. I mean, because I think Kinsey was into some dark stuff too that didn't necessarily come out. But it was very clearly that, known and stated that John Money was abusing the people he was supposed to be helping, who his research was based on.
Gotcha.
It's pretty ugly stuff. Anybody interested in that kind of stuff should look up Dr. Miriam Grossman on Twitter. She's a tremendous resource. She was in Matt Walsh's movie, What is a Woman? Okay. Doctor with little round glasses, you may remember.
Yeah.
But I was checking out some of her stuff today. That's actually how I found that website, is by checking out some of her stuff when she notes Kinsey on Twitter. And so it's based on faulty supposed science to begin with. And then there's a couple of other quick things on that topic that are just factual that I'd like to state that people probably don't know. Transgenderism, and not necessarily transgenderism, but the term gender dysphoria is a real thing. It's something that's been noted throughout history. Mm-hmm. It's just the idea that people aren't comfortable in their own body, that they think they're a different gender or have some kind of idea that they might be. Okay. Yeah. That goes back into all of history. Okay. If you look in like ancient Egypt, you had men who dressed as women sometimes.
Romans too.
Romans and Greek societies, all of this kind of stuff. But there's two demographics that this behavior manifested in over time, over all of history. And one is little boys, 4 to 6 years old, going in their mom's closet, put on the high heels, put on a dress, dressing up. Oh, I'm a girl. Yeah, whatever. No, you're not. You're pretending, you're playing, you're exploring the world, you're trying to figure out what's what, and it's very, very normal behavior. Lots of kids do that. Lots of boys do that.
Yeah.
But if left alone, those boys forget about all that stuff by the time they're 7 or 8. And it's just a phase where they're exploring the world and trying to figure out what's going on.
Right, but if you feed it,
it can carry on, and that's very much since this newer instantiation of the way people see the world. People do feed it.
Absolutely.
But the other demographic is males between 28 and 40 find some sexual gratification by dressing up as a woman, and usually those are gay men.
Usually.
Most of the time, that's what that is all about. Yeah. Is that's who they are. That's what they're expressing and doing that, and that leads to some finding the people that they want to find by exhibiting that behavior.
Sure.
And so that's all well and documented. Where this has never happened before is in young girls.
Yeah.
And that's where it's happening a whole bunch today in our society.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think there's a very good reason for it. And this is not this right here is not necessarily my thoughts, but again, I get a lot of this from Dr. Miriam Grossman and some other sources. But the big difference between boys and girls and how they relate is like young boys that are 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, even older than that, will get in a fight, punch each other, roll around in the dirt, get up, and most of the time be friends afterwards, at least historically. And girls, if they're having a hard time with each other and someone offends them, they usually go the other direction, go away from that person, and then go savage their character behind closed doors.
Shut them out.
And so it's a totally different social dynamic. And so the closest,
been that way my whole life, for sure.
Yeah, the closest thing that I would relate to transgenderism as far as it's being a social contagion is anorexia and bulimia. And the reason I say that is because those are mental disorders and bad and faulty ways of looking at the world that can spread like a social contagion and do spread through groups of girls in pockets. If one girl starts treating herself in an anorexic or bulimic way, that can easily move on to her friends if that is the social norm that's happening in that circle.
Right.
Same for transgender. People start affirming it, as they say, lauding it, saying things like, oh, you're so brave for choosing this lifestyle or coming out and speaking your truth, they'll say.
Right. What young kid's not going to latch on to that? They're getting attention for it.
It just totally falls into that social contagion. Another thing that supports that is that if you look at the places that it's most prevalent, which mostly it's Los Angeles, where you have in the most affluent populations in the affluent schools, you have up to 30% of young girls saying that they're transgender.
30%?
In only a few pockets of super liberal cities in the most wealthy areas.
Jesus.
an example of that is Katy Perry says she has 3. Her 3 children are all transgender.
My God.
What's the likelihood of that?
Yeah, it's not possible.
It's not possible unless you're reinforcing that as the parent.
Exactly.
And so you have other places around the country where it's very prevalent, but that's the outlier is Los Angeles in those super affluent areas.
Yeah. What, Oregon?
In other places that are liberal, Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, and some others, you have in the 8 to 12% range. Okay, but compare that with what
30%.
but compare that with what you have in all smaller towns across the United States. You have literal zeros.
Yeah,
literal zeros. I mean, some places you maybe have 1.
Yeah,
maybe.
There's got to be a reason for that.
It's a social contagion.
Yeah.
It is not something.
It's an attention thing. It's a.
And again, look, we're talking about people here having a delusion and a mental disorder. That is not hate. That is a factual discussion of what's happening on the ground. And it's really sad that we have doctors and advocates or activists that will promote this type of ideology because it fits their agenda. And with the activists, they a lot of them, I believe, they truly believe it, and that's just wild. The doctors, they know science, they can't believe it, but when they perform these surgeries, they're creating patients for life.
Yeah, and that's a whole other scummy part of it, you know. It's like, and it's like we were talking about, Charlie Kirk totally, you know, just doesn't trust doctors, and I agreed with him on that wholeheartedly, you know, because we're at the point where pills are just given out for anything now, and it's really creating more problems than it's solving. Yeah,
I'm really hard on pharmaceutical companies and pills. I basically take nothing but vitamins and supplements. Try to avoid anything else. Occasionally, if I have a massive headache, I'll take an Excedrin. But other than that, I really truly don't take any kind of pills, and I try to avoid it if at all possible. Yeah. It's not that I don't trust doctors. What I don't trust is institutions with a perverse incentive.
Yeah. Which they all have at this point, it seems like.
Most hospitals are private, and they also have policy.
Yeah.
And that causes them to align treatment toward a policy rather than a specific patient.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah.
Over anything else.
One of the most enlightening things about that topic is I had a conversation with a doctor friend of mine who I played basketball with in college. And he was excellent, super smart, top of his class, valedictorian in medical school. I mean, he's super smart, dude. And when I started trying to ask him questions about the COVID shot, he just totally shut down. Do you know this? Yeah, I don't have time, basically. And it was just like he couldn't wrap his mind around the idea that something that his hospital was telling him to do could be wrong.
You don't think he was contractually obligated to not say anything?
Maybe, but I don't. Yeah. But I don't. I wouldn't first assume that.
Yeah, sure.
About my friend.
Because you've known him forever. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows? It's possible, but he's never brought it back up with me. It doesn't seem to want to have the conversation. I would love to. I'd love to know his perspective, his evolution of how he was thinking about COVID from the beginning to the end. I mean, everybody had an evolution.
Yeah.
Nobody stayed the same thinking about it all the way through.
Well, I mean, let's be real. It was hard for doctors at that point in time because this was something we'd never dealt with. And like, what do you do if you don't give the vaccine out and it works? You're going to get hated on for the rest of your career. I mean, you know.
Oh yeah,
it was a weird situation to be in for sure.
Yeah,
but it was also a forced, ridiculous situation. So I don't know.
Oh, doctors are absolutely in a tough spot, and they didn't know what worked. And unfortunately, you have the Anthony Fauci playbook going on there, telling people what to believe, and you had a completely institutionalized and entrenched pharmaceutical influence on the CDC and FDA. And so
just total nonsense.
Yeah, it just
for years.
Yeah, I wonder if people even realize that. A lot of people, I'm hearing some blowback on Robert Kennedy these days, and people are saying things like, "Well, he got rid of all the people on the vaccine panel ACIP that approved vaccines." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, they were all put there by pharmaceutical companies,
and they were totally full of
it was rubber
BS.
stamp."
Yeah.
I've watched those meetings. I've watched them have doctors that bring up questions. Well, what about this? Do we know if it conflicts with this? And the answer is like, no, we haven't done those studies. No, we haven't done those studies. They keep asking these questions and there's no answer. And then the next thing that the chairperson says is like, okay, are we ready to push this through? All in favor say aye. And everybody, aye, raise their hand. It's like, it's just a rubber stamp.
It's disgusting, man. It's disgusting.
And that is
especially
why,
with what was involved at the time, what was at stake. Yeah,
that's why it had to change. I mean, that's why I'm really super glad Kennedy's in there.
Yeah.
But just to close out that the transgender topic real quick, I'm just I feel sad for people. I really have a lot of empathy for people that feel like they're not in the right body. But surgeries and cross-sex hormones are not the way.
Especially in children. Like, come on. Children that don't know how to make a decision on anything, let alone changing their body
We won't
for
let them,
good.
We won't let them get a tattoo, but we'll chop off healthy body parts.
Yeah, man.
Would we let them chop off a hand?
Yeah, I would hope not.
Yeah, you'd hope not. We won't let them get a tattoo. We won't let them sign up to go to the military. They can't be tried as an adult in most cases, but we'll allow them to chop off body parts. And the other thing about that is the cross-sex hormones that many, many people who are activists and the activist doctors will say are completely reversible. And I'm using air quotes for sarcasm purposes here. Completely reversible is completely false.
Yeah, it's not at all reversible.
If you take cross-sex hormones to delay or stop puberty, you are likely infertile.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to do to people.
Well, they're being lied to,
It's a terrible thing to do to people when their brains aren't even fully functioned. How would they know if they ever want to have kids or what they really think about themselves or what the world's really about when they're 13, 14, 15?
I knew people that said they would never had kids until they were 30 and completely changed their mind. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, the medical principle of first do no harm is just how do you reconcile that with what's going on in the transgender medical field?
Yeah.
Europe is ahead of us on this. They've closed most of their transgender clinics in Europe.
Yeah. It's been, I mean, there's just so many bad things that these people have come back and said later. I just don't know how people are still pushing this crap. I don't.
And you can tell it's near a cult level, like religious ideology when people who have detransitioned are the ones that catch the most hate from that crowd. It's like they went through all of it. They actually removed healthy body parts and then they decided it was a mistake and you're getting after them over it?
Yeah, because they don't suit your narrative anymore.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So the other thing that I noticed about the whole Charlie Kirk assassination was that it was well planned.
Yeah, seemed that way.
We've seen lots of, quote unquote mass shooters. That's not what this was. This was one shot and a very accurate one at that. It was 200 yards. It's not the most difficult shot in the world, but somebody would have to be proficient.
For sure.
It couldn't be the first or 10th time they've shot the weapon. They would have to be very well versed with the weapon.
Yeah.
It would have to be zeroed in, and they would have to be able to factor in things like wind. So it's not ultra simple, but it's still a fairly short shot if you have a scope and it's a 30-06.
Sure.
But somebody's mind, we're looking into the ballistics, and apparently there's about a 4-inch drop on that shot.
Wow.
About a 4-inch drop on that shot.
So he was aiming for the head.
Well,
for sure.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Most likely. But that's not the only thing that makes it seem well planned.
Right.
He we don't know who the guy is yet. I mean, there's some pictures out that were out today, but we don't know who it is. I'm assuming it's a he.
You talking about the hand signals or
no,
the guy with the phone up taking a picture?
No. I'm talking about the shooter himself.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
there's pictures of him that they're circulating. They CBS reported earlier that they have a name, but the place where he chose to shoot from was well planned out in the future. You couldn't even see it from the actual left side of Charlie Kirk, and I saw a video today from the spot where he shot.
Kids, looking up on the roof.
It's pretty. It would be hard to see him up there. And then also directly behind that building, he can run, jump down several rooftops on his way down, and then straight into a parking lot, and then into some woods area.
Yeah, so well planned.
Very well planned. Very well planned. Well thought out. The escape plan was thought out because you wouldn't be able to get away if you had to make it up on the fly.
Right.
And this person intended to not be caught. The other thing, other reason that I mentioned the trans thing was that the ATF, somebody in the ATF leaked to Steven Crowder today that the shell casings had trans rights and anti-fascist rhetoric scrawled on the shell casings.
Mm-hmm.
The one that was still apparently the spent casing was still in the magazine in the rifle itself, and then there's 4 other shots sitting there waiting if he needed them. So it's pretty clear. I mean, I've had some people get irritated with me for kind of insinuating that that's what was going on there, but I mean, it seems pretty clear.
Yeah, I don't know how you argue that. And I mean, for that lunatic that was on MSNBC 5 minutes after he got shot, saying that he deserved it. I mean, that's just insane.
He said that it was possibly a
supporter shooting off a round in the air
in celebration.
How stupid do you think people are?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I've seen lots of horrible people celebrating his death.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of moral compass do you have to have? That's just despicable to me, honestly.
Yeah, and it's
I don't care who you believe or who you side with in this. I mean, this is a person that got shot for saying what he believed in, and that's kind of what our country is founded upon. And you're going to celebrate that?
Yeah. Because
it doesn't suit your narrative. And every other time somebody else gets shot in this country, you're going to be up in arms about it and say that our guns need to be taken away from us. I mean, I don't get that rhetoric at all.
Yeah. Doing what Charlie Kirk did on a regular basis on college campuses was one of the most uniquely American cultural things that you can do. In many countries, you're not allowed to just speak your piece and disagree with the government, or have conversations in the open about politics. I mean, it's about as American as it gets to have those kind of conversations out there in the open. And to celebrate his demise, like some people have, is not only classless and unintelligent, but it's also in the category of evil, if you ask me.
I agree. Yeah. Especially the uninformed, that don't even know who this guy was. And they act like they do, but they've never watched his videos. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious if you hear this rhetoric. Because if you'd ever seen anything he's done, you know that he gave it up for anyone to speak. And he was always respectful. And I just don't understand it. It's bizarre to me.
He got overjoyed when he was given an opportunity by somebody to talk about the gospel.
Yeah.
He professed his faith loud and proud.
Hard for people now, for some reason. Bizarre to me, but.
Well, I mean, look, people in religion sometimes give religious people a bad name. And many
absolutely true. Yeah,
and many people have been hurt by religion, and even I wouldn't say especially, but for sure, there's a good amount of people that have been hurt by Christians and Christian churches. Not only people of faith, but people that are supposed to be the leaders of faith in those churches.
Yeah,
and that gives people, just because that exists, it gives people reason to point at the church as something bad.
Right. But what do we speak about on this podcast? You cannot overgeneralize anyone or anything.
No.
Any group of people.
No, generalizations are, like it's there are situations where it's okay to generalize, but when you're talking about large groups of people, it's not okay to apply it to individuals.
Right.
But conversation is what Charlie was doing, and conversation is extremely important to me.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I enjoy doing on this earth the most is having conversations with people that are even slightly contentious, because I want to know what people think and why they think it and what their rationale is and how did they get to that point.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we're a lot more similar than anyone knows, on both sides. And the fact that you could just be shot for your opinion is really disturbing to me, because it's an important thing that needs to happen. And there are way too few outlets for that, I think. And his was a big one and an important one,
Yeah. If we don't talk through disagreements, what happens next is violence.
Exactly. It's exactly what happened.
Yeah. It just increases tribalism when you don't communicate with people who disagree with you. It increases the divisive rhetoric. It's just, but on the whole, just stepping back from it, it really just makes me pretty sad. I mean, I've not been like wanting to cry or anything like that, except for one time today, because when I saw Patrick Bet-David and his company were doing a live event when they got the news that he had been shot, and then they got the news that he had died, and so you got to see that transition. And PBD himself was going on the stage, and he was trying to talk about it, and then he was told in the midst of talking about it that he had died. And they started playing the music from Gladiator when he had just defeated the Emperor and he had lay down and died, and that like somber music they were playing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like it was almost overwhelming. And then Tom, the other guy, one of the older guys on his crew, came out and relieved him, because PBD couldn't even get through it. He was going to try and say a prayer for Charlie and his family, and he couldn't even get through it.
Yeah.
And then Tom came out and gave a very eloquent and appropriate prayer. And it was just kind of the music combined with PBD being overcome by emotion was like hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
It just, music hits you a little different. It increases those emotions that are behind things.
I agree, man. Music can change the world. I've always felt that way, but it totally does. I mean, we talked about this before, but music is the only thing that can really take you back to a place in time, and can really set off those emotions like that.
Yeah. It's something about music that stirs the soul.
Yeah. But my thing about Charlie, too, is that, like you said earlier, he's unapologetic about his firm faith. And there aren't enough people in the position that he was in, those types of people, that are firm in their beliefs like that as Christian men. I think it's a big loss for us,
Definitely. It's a huge loss, because he was a self-educated man. I mean, he dropped out of college and people try to give him flack for that. But when he goes to these college campuses and he talks to people about why college is a scam, that was one of his big things. I saw one today where he was talking with a young man who was an economics major, a sophomore, and he asked him what he thinks of Thomas Sowell. He goes, "I like him. I got his book." He's like, "Well, what do you think of is it Milton Friedman or Thomas Friedman? I'm not sure. Milton Friedman, I think, is a famous economist."
Okay.
And he's back 2 generations ago or so. And he goes, "Who?" And he goes, "Well, what about he named off several other free market economists over time that have developed the philosophy of the free market."
Yeah.
And the kid had no idea who any of them were. And he goes,
As a college student,
as a
majoring in
yeah,
economics.
yeah. And he
That's
goes, do
insane.
you know who John Maynard Keynes is? And he goes, yeah, oh yeah, we studied him. He goes, of course you have. Okay, because what this is indoctrination, because you're getting the demand side from Keynes when all these people who talked about the supply side are over here and you're not getting any of that.
Yeah.
And so it just took me back a little bit to my college days. I don't know if you had any of these kind of experiences, but I certainly had a bunch of them were purely indoctrination. I mean, I had one sociology teacher that tried to give us his communist plan for America.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I did come from California, but I couldn't even take it.
Yeah.
I know history well enough that I just waited for him to be done with his presentation, and I just shot my hand up. And I was like, hey guy, that's been tried, right? And he's like,
many times.
well, that wasn't communism and blah, 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 blah. I said, take which version you want. I said, Russia, China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Cuba, all the Eastern Bloc countries when they were under communism, none of them worked out very well, man. Really poorly, in fact. Lots of people died. Lots and lots of people died. But that wasn't real communism. And I mean, he and I went back and forth and back and forth. Nobody else in the entire classroom said anything.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the class was over, we walk out in the hallway, and there's like 10 people. Oh, man, that was so awesome. Thank you for saying all that. It's like, dude, why?
Speak up when the
where
teacher's
are you
in the
guys?
room.
Like,
Come on.
what? Have some spine, man. Like, we don't need to take bad ideas from people who have a title and just accept them.
Yeah. That's college students in a nutshell, honestly, which I think is why Charlie was so important, because you could see these kids coming up with these kind of ludicrous questions.
Yeah.
And he would tell them the facts.
Mm-hmm.
And it would change their whole perspective. And not that that's what he was even setting out to do, but that's important. If you have a radical idea that has no basis in logic, and someone corrects that for you, I mean, it's got to be life-changing, right? Like, I don't know. I didn't have that when I was in college, and I wish I had.
Yeah, I had several of those kind of incidents in college where I don't know. I mean, some people would look at it as shooting yourself in the foot when you directly challenge and call out the professor who's responsible for your grade. But I've just never had the ability to be quiet in the face of bull-faced lies.
Just accept it.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm incapable. And be it a strength or a weakness, it could probably be both. I'm sure there's some times where I probably just need to say less.
Yeah, but man, you got to stand up for what you believe is right.
Yeah.
And I think that's Charlie Kirk in a nutshell,
Definitely. The other time that it sticks out in my mind in college was I was taking a California history class, and we were talking about the 1920s, and the section was on the KKK in California. And so we'd have to do these big readings, and then we'd come into class, and based on the reading, he'd give you a couple of questions. And before the class would start, we had a writing assignment that was 10 minutes, and then we'd turn it in. And so it was actually on his commentary, because he'd give commentary, and then we'd write. He'd give commentary on the reading. And so one of the things he said was, you may be saying to yourself, the KKK in California, but we're a blue state. And I about lost my crap. I was blown away that he would imply that racism is monopolized by
the right
Republicans. Yeah. When the KKK was a Democrat-created organization.
And we know they've kind of flip-flopped since, but it was a Democratic. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the support for Democrats in the South was based on racism all the way up through Reconstruction and the Civil Rights era.
Absolutely.
And so it just, I just wrote, I wrote all this stuff, and he saw me writing, and longer than everybody else, some people had 3 sentences or half a page, and I wrote a page and a half, Yeah. And so he literally, and he would always read some people's responses. He rifled through until he found mine, read it aloud to the class, and then acted outraged that I would accuse him of being partisan or accusing Republicans of being racist, and that wasn't his implication. And I'm sitting there like, baloney, man. That was clear as day to me what you were saying.
Well, and that's the interesting thing is that this guy was doing this when you were in college.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine how much more drastic that is now.
Oh yeah,
right. With these, and I don't want to, talk crap about academia, but their whole thing is left. It always has been, and it's even more so now. And it's just like these kids don't really have a chance to form their own opinion. I guess is what we're trying to talk about here. But I feel like it's definitely worse now.
Well, they've
because
definitely
of
been
the
that
media
way,
and because of a lot of different things. But
they've definitely been that way the last 60 or 70 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah. In our lifetimes, for sure.
But I totally agree with him on that college is a scam unless you want to go be a doctor or a lawyer or something very clearly where you need the degree.
A niche market, yeah.
It's very, very much...
What did you graduate college in?
I actually didn't graduate.
Oh, okay.
I was about, I think, 20 credits shy.
Okay, I'm not trying to call you out.
No, that's fine.
I don't use my degree is what I was trying to say.
No, that's totally fine.
Anything,
if people want to challenge me on a topic, go for it. My degree doesn't have anything, lack thereof has nothing to do with it.
And a degree is more meaningless now than it ever was, in my opinion.
It's funny, as I was leaving the house, my son was in a conversation with a buddy of his and saying something about smart this and smart that, and they're quipping back and forth, and his buddy goes, yeah, well, my sister has 2 masters. And I just couldn't help myself. I turned around and I said, degrees are not a symbol of intelligence. They're a symbol of ability to get through a program and jump through hoops.
And not enter the workforce. Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree with that. I just don't, if my kids know exactly what they want to be and that they have to go to school for that, great, go for it. But if you're going to just go for your general ed and figure it out, I think you should probably start work instead.
Yeah.
I mean, because...
Pick up a trade.
Yeah.
Because you can make more money doing that now.
Absolutely. Plumbers and electricians are in high demand.
Even if you're a lawyer now, it's really hard to even find yourself because there's so many lawyers with degrees. And I mean, it's rough out there.
Your dad's a lawyer. How has he commented how that landscape has changed?
He has. So everything is about big ads now, right? And he's never had to advertise his whole life. It's all been word of mouth.
Like billboards?
Yeah. Billboards, TV ads, like Jim Adler, the tough Texas lawyer. Like, complete idiot. Like, why would you hire that guy? But people are not smart, obviously. And they see a TV ad and they want to hire that guy, right? But he just said it's so hard for new lawyers to even get into a firm, first of all. And if you get into a firm, it's hard to even try to work your way up the ladder. You really don't have an opportunity to do that. It's really tough, man. He actually advised me to not go into law school after school. And I was about to. I took my LSAT and everything. But ended up going to the oil field for some god-awful reason. But I kid, man. I like the oil field. It's just it's not ever where I saw myself being.
Yeah.
As a young, strapping college student.
Yeah. I definitely didn't see myself working for a corporation for 15 years like I have. I surely thought I would be a high-level basketball coach by now. That's just not how it worked out. But kind of back to what we were saying about degrees, and it really doesn't matter. I mean,
it doesn't. Unless you're getting into a specialized field, like you said, which is so expensive.
People either take a posture of being a lifelong learner or they don't. And that's applicable to people who have a degree or don't. I mean, people who are not lifelong learners, it doesn't matter if they have a degree or if they don't, they're not going to retain and they're not going to be continuing to grow. I mean, while I was coaching basketball full time, I kind of paused on a lot of that because it took up a lot of my time. But since getting married, having kids, and my life starting to take a different shape, I've been back to really trying to learn as much as I can about as many topics as I can, just because they all interest me and I want to know what's going on. So yeah, if somebody wants to take shots at me for not having a degree, bring it on.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting how the idea of a college degree has changed too since I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, you had to have a college degree, or no one was going to hire you. And I mean, that's what I was told at a young age. But I think it also was a fact at the time, because if you didn't prove that you put that effort in and finished something, at least that's how I got hired anyway. Because I didn't have any anything else that I could prove. I didn't have any experience, kind of thing. But now it's just like everyone has a degree, and how are you going to make yourself stand out? I think having experience in that field is much more important than having that degree. And just any kind of experience that you can get, especially like while you're in high school still, and there are a lot of programs to do this, I think it is way more beneficial than spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a degree. Although I had the time of my life in college, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, I had too much fun for sure. I should have been focused on my life and education, but I certainly wasn't. But back to something related to this topic, but on Charlie Kirk, he dropped out of college at 18 and started Turning Point USA at 18 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And became fairly wealthy in the end, toward the end of his life, but with Turning Point. But some of the things I didn't know, again, learning from listening to Candace talk about him today, one of his maxims that he always would tell her is that no matter what, they can't take away from us our ability to outwork them. Talking about bigger media organizations. And so work ethic is so much more important than any degree could ever be.
Agree completely. If somebody sees your work ethic, they're going to hire you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like this podcast. Do we have a gigantic listenership right now? No. But what happens if we put 5 years of podcasts on the books, one a week for, 5 years? Yeah. I mean, that's a whole different deal. And I think we're committed to doing that, and we are not doing it for that reason. We just enjoy doing it. But at the same time, man, it would be nice to have something come out of it as well.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of people aren't. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's a fact nowadays. People are expecting things without doing things, and it's bizarre to me.
Yeah. There's definitely an expectation of the government should take care of things, and that's just couldn't be further from how I see the world. Yeah,
because we were never given that. And why we never expected it? Why would we expect that?
It just has terrible effects on society to begin with. I mean, the federal government should be about half the size that it is, or less, is my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
We shouldn't have the Fed. We shouldn't have a military with $1 trillion budget. It's just way, way too much money, and that allows the corruption that obviously exists to maintain itself and feed itself on the largesse and overflow of money that goes into those kinds of things.
Exactly. And it opens up doors for corruption. I mean, just look at what we saw with Doge and Elon Musk. I mean, I'm sure that most people were disgusted by what they saw with all that, hopefully.
It became really partisan really quick, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate, because how can we not see corruption and see it as a bad thing? Everyone.
I was super excited about Doge. I mean, just to track through my political history of voting real quick, I hadn't voted for a major party candidate since the first George W. Bush term, and I ended up regretting that one. I've voted for libertarians out of principle for years and years, and this time I was supporting Robert Kennedy all the way through because of the realizations that I came to about our medical industries and medical fields and the pharmaceutical industry and how they shape our society in such a negative way. But when he jumped over to Trump, I was at first really bummed out about that because I don't really care for Trump as a human being.
Second.
But when Elon Musk jumped on board and the idea of Doge started coming up, I got really excited because it's both sides of what I really care about in government. It's the health stuff that government should be focused on, getting back to what's real and scientific rather than what's being pushed by pharmaceutical companies and oil companies. And then on the Doge side, I mean, I just think that we should massively cut out all kinds of stuff from government. I think every decision that can be pushed local should be. The closer to where the money is being spent, that the dollars are allocated, it's better for everyone involved. There's less chance for corruption. The farther away from where dollars are spent being allocated at the federal level, it just leaves all kinds of room for corruption, but not only corruption, for money to be spent just completely inappropriately and be wasted.
Yeah.
Like they say, waste, fraud, and abuse.
There's so much of it going on, and nothing was done to stop it after Doge. It's bizarre to me. I mean,
it's not that bizarre. The people in Congress have no real incentive to go against the people who pay for their election campaigns.
Right.
And that's where it's at. I mean, flat out, it's all about money. Yeah. The definition of a perverse incentive, why would you vote for a bill that limits your ability to have power?
Yeah. But there's too many of those types of people that are in these positions, and that's the freaking problem.
It's most of them. I mean, you know, I've talked offline before about the amount of how many politicians you actually trust. I mean, there's very few.
Yeah.
And my list is pretty short, and it's Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, Justin Amash, who's an independent, and Ro Khanna, who's one Democrat.
Saw Ro Khanna talking about Charlie Kirk today, actually.
He's like the one real human being that's super sensible, and I disagree with his politics vehemently, but I really like the fact that he's a real human being.
Well, yeah, and he's heavily on the left, but he came out and spoke for Charlie Kirk today, and I think that's a great thing. And
then, you know, I've not been much of a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene because she is a little bit blustery when she doesn't need to be, and makes too much drama when she doesn't need to. But she and Ro Khanna co-sponsored a bill to publish all the Epstein files. And it got a whole bunch of public support. It got support from the victims and no support from the rest of Congress.
Saw that. 61-59, right? Got shot down.
I don't know the actual vote count, so if that's what it was, then you're more informed than me on that topic. But I know that it didn't pass.
Rand Paul went against it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Huh.
From what I saw, I don't know for sure.
I don't know if he did or didn't. Definitely don't. But
yeah.
When I say that I trust those people, it's not because I end up agreeing with them on every issue, but I just feel like they're willing to be real people and willing to speak the truth.
Yeah. Which is a rarity in politics.
And I may be giving Rand Paul too much credit because his dad is one of the greatest human beings to ever walk the earth, the great Ron Paul.
Fair enough. Always liked Ron Paul, though.
Yeah, he's just so cool, man. He's just an old country doctor who is anti-war and anti-big government, and he doesn't have anything in it for himself. Awesome. I mean, I wish he could have been one of our presidents. That would make a great president right there. So I don't know. That's pretty much most of my thoughts on the whole Charlie Kirk thing. I'm super bummed about it because he was such a voice for open conversation.
Yeah, and whether you agree with what he had to say or not, that's important to have an open conversation with people you disagree with. I mean, it's just If we lose that, we just turn to violence.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing I noticed that was kind of irritating. There's some people out there who are highlighting a comment that Charlie Kirk made that was somewhat off the cuff about if he turns on Israel, they'll probably kill him.
Yeah.
And then you get people that are really quickly being, all conspiracy-like, saying that the Jews did it or the Israelis did it. Or I mean, I'm just not with that crowd. I don't endorse any of that kind of talk. I'm not a fan of the government of Israel either. We've talked about that in previous podcasts, how they're pretty dastardly when it comes to how they deal with the people in their areas that they control. But
Yeah.
I just don't find it very useful to start blaming an entire group of people demographically, racially,
With no evidence. Especially when it's fairly clear that we're talking about an extreme left-winger with Antifa and transgender ideology. It was scrawled on the shell casings. Deny that all you want, but I mean, the facts are there,
Yeah.
I don't know why we're trying to
and that is a leak.
Prove who tried to kill this guy.
Yeah, and that is a leak, that information for the shell casings. So it could turn out that that's not true, but it looks pretty reputable, as though it came from the ATF. So I would be very surprised if it turns out to not be reputable.
Well, I mean, you got so many people spreading misinformation. Everybody's saying, "Oh, Trump did this to, make it better make him martyr and make it better for the conservative people." And it's just
I also heard somebody say that Trump was involved to take the heat off the Epstein thing. It's just like, God, jeez, guys, that's just like one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I mean, he's thick enough to call it a Democrat hoax, and then he's going to shoot somebody to try to take the heat off. I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
But
and I was talking to Josh about this earlier, but it's crazy to me how Israel's being thrown around so nonchalantly now. And so many conspiracy theories are being thrown around as fact. I mean, of course, we've had these things that have been conspiracy theories that have turned into fact. But it's just the fact that people jump to that conclusion immediately is just... it flabbergasts me. I don't know what to say about it, because it's just... As soon as one thing like that happens, people just hold on to it. And
yeah,
people's attention spans are so short nowadays. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I'm really not into the Jewish conspiracy theories that they run the world and they're nefarious actors on every plane, and I just don't have any time for it. It doesn't make any sense. And
right.
I mean,
there's definitely done some questionable things.
Well, the government, but separate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of wealthy Israelis and Jews that give a lot of money to the causes they're interested in.
Yeah,
which is their right, and lots of businesses that do the same thing.
Like we said, you can't overgeneralize.
Yeah, I mean, as far as politically speaking, AIPAC should have to register as a foreign lobby, and they haven't been made to. That's crappy. But again, we're talking about government stuff. We're not talking about the people, And so it bothers me when it's all lumped together in one big derogatory type bent towards a certain group of people of any stripe.
Don't you think that's right, though? That people are just kind of jumping to these conclusions a lot easier now than they used to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a result of the internet age. I mean, I fully enjoy that we don't have to depend on ABC, NBC, CBS to give us the news, because we're getting a super hard CIA intelligence slant if it was just that. But at the same time, the open sourcing of information really twists people into pretzels on both ends of the spectrum, because you get your people who are believing in the institutions and believe that we have to pay attention to them and give credence to the institutions. Something like COVID blows that up out of the water. You cannot just blindly trust institutions.
Absolutely.
But on the other end of that spectrum, you get people who think there's a twist on everything that happens.
Right.
Nothing is as straightforward as it seems.
Because they watched some Instagram video that was 10 seconds long and they took it as fact.
Right.
It's crazy, man.
And then people...
That's crazy. I hope you guys are not doing that. I hope you're fact-checking a little bit.
Yeah, investigate, push back, find multiple sources, find people you disagree with that are saying the same thing as the people that you agree with. That's one of the ways that I verify things, is I find people who start out from a place that's opposite of me politically, but then they end up agreeing with people that are on the more conservative side of the aisle, and they're saying the same things. One example of that I saw throughout this whole Charlie Kirk thing was Eric Weinstein, who is one of my favorite public intellectuals, physicist and math guy. I think he's one of the smartest people I've ever listened to speak, frankly. Kayfabe is his concoction. He wrote an article. Some magazine asked him to write an article about one of the most important topics facing our nation. He wrote about kayfabe a couple years back.
Okay.
But his take on it was just, he's kind of receded from public life a little bit recently. In the last couple of years, he's kind of really drawing back.
Can't blame him for that.
Yeah, but it was just a simple Instagram video that I saw, and it was just his face, and he's just sitting there talking, and he just said, I met Charlie Kirk quite a few times. I had dinner with him several times. Every time I had a conversation with him, the guy was a class act. We did not agree on very much, but we always had a good time together. There was always lots of laughs. There was always good-natured fun. And no matter how much we disagreed on things, there was never any accusations. He always treated me fairly. He was always kind. We always parted with a hug. And it's just, you could see again, another example of somebody who was in pain from losing a friend.
Yeah.
And he is a very left-wing type person.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a verification of who Charlie Kirk was.
Well, and that's the thing. Charlie Kirk wasn't just this right-wing nut job, Like,
no.
You look at what he said. I mean, he was, like we were talking about earlier, against Big Pharma, against all of these things that the conservatives kind of lean heavily toward. And I don't know, man. I just think that it's just such a sad thing that we can't have these conversations anymore. We can't just talk and have a good time with people we disagree with.
Yeah.
We used to be able to do that. I used to be able to do that all the time. But emotions are so high now, yeah. It's crazy to me.
I try to engage in conversation where I disagree with people in good faith as often as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But I really am selective about who I do that with, because a lot of people, majority I think, can't handle it and get angry very, very quickly.
Yeah. Just wear their emotions on their sleeves on both sides.
Yeah.
Not just liberals, not just, not conservatives too. I mean,
And look, a couple of places that I very much disagree with Charlie Kirk, actually. As we sit here and talk about how awesome he was, it's what he represented that was awesome. But to talk about some of the things I disagree with him on, I think partisanship is ruining our country, and he was certainly a partisan. At his rallies, he's throwing out "Make America Great Again" hats.
Yeah,
he was one of the major reasons Trump got elected, and I'm not Trump was a better option this time, but. That doesn't mean that I think he's a wonderful leader. I really don't think that, actually. I think he's a symptom of where we are as a country and the extremes that we've come to, as far as how corrupt the government has gotten and the lack of trust in people who speak like a politician. And his popularity really has come mostly because he doesn't speak like a politician.
Right. But he also ran on the fact that he was going to downsize the government, and that's totally against what he's done.
Yeah, it destroys me and breaks my heart that he's increased the size of government massively in both of his terms.
Yeah,
it's really ugly stuff. Increasing the federal government more than Biden did, I mean, that's not laudable. It's not something I'm a fan of. It's not something we should be doing.
Yeah,
it's the opposite, in fact.
Of course, Biden created a lot of those problems, but
well,
but like we're talking about, like eye for an eye doesn't work here.
No,
two rights don't make a wrong.
No, and if you look at the arc of government spending, it really starts to upturn in the mid-90s, early 90s, and then the graph just skyrockets to the moon from there until where we are now. It almost turns straight up to vertical as far as how fast we're spending. That's not sustainable.
No, and I was worried about it in Clinton's term.
Exactly.
As a young person.
And we're at a place where, most Americans don't realize about that is that, in the 1800s, the Brits ruled the world and had colonies everywhere and were the most powerful nation on the planet by far, and had the resources that they couldn't even use, and just they were so wealthy it was ridiculous. And now look at them. They're nothing. They're not even important on a world stage.
Yeah.
Their country's basically a shell of itself. That is where we are headed. I mean, we have some other advantages they don't have, but if we're financially insolvent, we won't be able to continue operating as the richest and most dominant country in the world, not even close.
Well, and that's one thing I'm ultimately behind Trump with, is that we bring everything back to America, I know it sucks short term.
It does suck short term.
It's not going to be fun. But ultimately, that's going to be a good thing for us.
I agree with you. We have to create our own crucial medicines like antibiotics. We don't make any of that here now. We have to be able to create our own steel. We have to be able to manufacture. If a long, sustained military confrontation with a major power popped off right now, we'd be in real trouble because of our lack of ability to produce on an industrial level. And that's scary because, Russia has ramped up their war machine and they're producing. That's why their economy has not had the negative effects that people thought were going to happen with the sanctions, at least the people in government.
Yeah.
But China has production. Now, who knows if they actually have the technology figured out as they appear to. But, they had that big military parade recently. Did you see that?
I did.
Who was that? Who was that for? Who was the intended audience?
Us, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no other intended audience besides us.
Well, and Putin and Kim Jong-il went over there, didn't they?
Yeah, they actually had a big meeting. I don't think it was for that, but it was around the same time. They had a big meeting with Putin, Xi of China, Kim Jong-un, Modi of India was there. I believe there was one more. I believe one of the Iranian leaders was there as well. Now, that's most of the nations of BRICS. You know what BRICS is?
Not really, no.
BRICS is a conglomeration of nations that are trying to opt out of the world currency being the dollar. And it's...
so trying to hold us down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I get outside looking in.
Which one's the B? I don't remember. It might be Belarus, Russia, India, China, and then I think it was maybe South Africa, and then Brazil, I believe, was trying to join BRICS as well. But it's like a new economic group that's totally in opposition to the U.S. interest and to the dollar being the global currency.
So why shouldn't we have interest in building our own economy better here?
Oh, we certainly should.
It's just
we certainly should.
Crazy.
The inability to manufacture and have industry at scale is a real problem.
I didn't realize that was an issue.
What's that?
Steel, especially. Like, I thought we were one of the bigger.
I mean, we still have some steel plants. Still have some steel plants, but like, if we had to all of a sudden build out a navy, there's no way.
Yeah,
it would take 10 years. I shouldn't say it wouldn't take 10 years. It would probably take at least 3 years to build out capacity if we stopped everything and had a World War II effort.
Don't we have a lot though that's ready to go? I mean,
as far as the Navy,
yeah,
we have the second largest Navy in the world by number of boats. China has more. But they have technology problems. They have one finished carrier and one that's in process of being built right now. I believe they have maybe like 2 or 3 what are called jump carriers, which are about half the size of a normal carrier.
China does?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they don't. I don't believe that they've made the transition into nuclear power in those.
Yeah.
And so that really limits the range. Really, really limits the range. I could be mistaken on that, but my understanding is that technologically speaking, their navy is not a blue water navy, meaning global, going wherever they want. And so they do have a ton of numerically speaking, they have a ton, and so that's why any kind of a conflict right there at Taiwan would be a big problem, because they don't need the long travel to be able to do all that. And that's coming. Look, the Taiwan thing is coming.
Yeah.
If you've,
they've wanted it forever.
They've wanted it forever. They believe it's China proper territory, but they're building out these like siege bridges that they're constructing on the mainland of China, and they're like a floating bridge where they can line up a bunch of hardware and then like sail it over there and then roll the hardware on like right away.
Wow.
So there's all kinds of stuff, and I don't know. I'm not predicting any timing or anything like that, but it seems somewhat inevitable within the next 10 years that they make their move. We're way off the Charlie Kirk topic here, but
can I just throw something in real quick? I was watching a show about the samurai, and the Chinese tried to take Taiwan back then.
Japan, they tried to take Japan.
That's what it was. Sorry.
Yeah.
And failed miserably.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. China and Japan have a huge, long history of rivalry.
Oh yeah.
But back to the family. China has a major problem when it comes to demographics. They're the oldest and fastest aging country on the planet.
Yeah.
And if they don't,
killed off their baby girls for so long.
Yeah. Well, they had the 2-child policy, then the 1-child policy, and now you have an extremely old population, and I don't know if they can get out of the demographic bust track that they're on.
Yeah.
So some of the extreme experts out there say that their population is massively lower than they say, and that demographically speaking, within 10 years they may not exist. Which is wild to even think about, that the way that they're showing today could end up in them not being a nation of any consequence in the near future.
Man, that is interesting to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, Peter Zion is the one that has most of that work on the demographics. If you look up the demographic charts, if you look up Zion, which is Zeihan, and then say demographic charts on Google, you'll see all of his charts for the different countries, and it shows birth rates and different stuff like that. It's pretty wild if you look at China's. Ours is not great, but it's better than most countries in the developed world.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Gen X or Gen Z just doesn't have children, right? I mean, that's definitely true. Gen Z is not having kids, but I'm really encouraged by the generation that's right behind them. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what we're calling them at this point, but that's one of the reasons that Charlie Kirk was so influential, is because he had such a strong following in the youth movement. And I think we're seeing some encouraging things on faith and ideology when it comes to the youth. Which is a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the do whatever you want morally and sexually days of the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. I think is coming to an end.
Thank God.
Kids
a selfish life is not a good life.
No, some people say it's because of technology and the lack of meeting people out in public and having to interact face to face that's driving kids to not be trying to have sex when they're young or too young for that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
I think it's also combined with the fact that many, especially young men, are moving back towards faith.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a positive development, and hopefully there's some positive that comes out of this death, this murder is what it was. But hopefully, whatever happens with Turning Point doesn't end with Charlie Kirk's passing.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I think people are going to rise up bigger and bolder because of this. I mean, I don't see anything else happening.
I sure hope so. And I know, for one, the impact that it's had on me beyond just being sad about this is that I've pretty much had it with people trying to justify the transgender stuff. Again, I don't hate anybody, and I don't treat anybody disrespectfully. And as a matter of fact, if I knew a person who was an adult who was trans and they wanted me to call them by whatever name or normal pronoun, I would probably comply with that if I knew the person individually, just to be respectful. But in a broader general sense on what it does to our society, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I believe that it's a blight on our society. It's a cancer. It's a social contagion, and it's the negative effects are going to be felt for generations. And I also just can't imagine the lawsuits that are going to come out of it in the years to come, and the things because of the things that they've done to kids.
Yeah, I think it's a big blow to the logical way of thinking, you know. And like you, I don't hate anybody, but I think a lot of these people that are feeling this way have been led to believe these things, like we talked about, you know, and that's my issue with it.
It's an overgrown sense of compassion.
Yeah.
And it's compassion is a pretty good thing, and empathy is a pretty good thing. But you know, another thing I heard Charlie Kirk say on those topics is that somebody presented to him that it's if you're a loving person, then you accept people. And Charlie goes, no. If I am loving, then I'm truthful.
Good point.
You know, and the kid was talking about, he asked him if he lied to his family members, and the kid goes, well, sometimes. And he goes, well, you really shouldn't lie. And he goes,
yeah. Especially to the people you love.
And the kid brought up this situation. Well, what if you had a sister who had a terribly ugly dress that she was about to wear out in public, and would you not tell her that she looked good? And he's like, if she looked terrible, I would for sure. This is Charlie saying, if she looked terrible, for sure, I would try to keep my sister from going out in public and embarrassing herself. But I would do it with love. And the kid didn't understand, well, how can you do that with love? And he was like, very simply, you say, hey, let's talk about this, and I think you should maybe consider wearing a different outfit. And, well, why? I really like this. Well, because I don't think it's going to be received as you think it is. And things can be done with love. You don't have to accept everything that other people want to do, and you can still love them.
I think that's the main issue we're talking about, right? I mean, in a nutshell, you don't have to agree with everyone.
Yeah.
But you have to agree with their right to say it. And you need to be open, and you need to be able to have a discussion without losing your mind like a child.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes us adults. That's what makes us rational human beings, is to be able to talk about things that we disagree about.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Not lose our entire minds and just think with our emotions. You know, it's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that to that end that I have really worked on, and that we've kind of talked about privately, is just trying to make sure that you use your words appropriately and say exactly what you want to say, and not be flippant about the words that you choose to use. I mean, I really, really try to choose my words carefully. But I also try to speak the truth. You know, I also try to speak up for my faith in a bold fashion. My intent is never to injure. My intent is never to alienate or hurt people. But people are going to take offense when people stand boldly on what they believe in, no matter what that happens to be.
Yeah. And I think Charlie Kirk got the short end of the straw as far as that's concerned, because objectively, and I've watched a lot of his stuff, and I will say wholeheartedly I didn't agree with everything that he said, but he always gave people the benefit of the doubt. He always treated people well. He always gave people a forum to express their opinions. And if our country becomes a place where that's not something that happens, that's the worst thing that can happen.
Absolutely. Another thing he modeled that's a good thing for conversations is he didn't speak when other people were speaking. He gave them their opportunity to speak.
Shut up and listen, yes.
And then when it was his turn, he would speak, and if they tried to overtalk him, he would just stop. And he would try to give them another opportunity, and then if he would start speaking again and they would interrupt, he'd go, okay, hold on, I listened to you. And it's a good thing in life to practice that with our friends, to practice that with our spouses, to practice that with our kids. I always try to, especially if it's getting heated, just shut my mouth and listen for a minute. And then when I start speaking, if the other person is so heated that they try to start, I just stop again and pause. And it's a really good thing to practice.
Even if it's just to collect your thoughts.
Yeah. It's a really good thing to practice, to just not speak when somebody else is speaking. Too much over talking when it comes to sensitive issues.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and be that guy. Nobody likes it when you talk over them. Ever.
Nobody does. So, although we had planned to do something different, I thought this was something we had to address.
Yeah, this one I think was heavy on all of our hearts today.
It's definitely something I've not been able to stop thinking about and having conversations about. And
it's September 11th, and this is all we're talking about.
Yeah.
Prayers up for that as well.
Yeah. September 11th, another topic that we could at some point cover. Because there's a lot of stuff that to be talked about there that's outside of the norm, and they would be going against the grain of the official reports of what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks for listening. People out there that have been enjoying our podcast, please like it, subscribe, leave us a comment, tell us what you'd like to hear. We appreciate anybody who sticks with us for these longer form conversations.
And rest in peace, Charlie Kirk.
Absolutely.
And
rest in peace.
Our prayers and our thoughts and our positive energy are going to your family and your children.
And I would just like to say thank you for the example of how to model free speech and open debate when people disagree, and do it respectfully, with kindness and love.
And for your unwavering faith, that's something that's not really shown publicly anymore, and that's a travesty. And I'm really glad that you held fast to that.
And a great example for us as Christians ourselves to emulate.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening, everybody. Really appreciate you guys.
We will see you next week. Have a good one.